Cindy Clevens here.
Blake Hooper here.
Jordan, I think you're muted.
Jordan Vachon here. Is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Okay, cool.
Chris Culberson here.
Wendy, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, Wendy Waskin here.
And Cindy, Madhu just emailed to ask to be excused, and we're not going live. Something's going on with the live feed, so I'm just going to record the meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I got to go back to the agenda, right?
Yeah, agenda's on the screen, so we're good.
Okay.
All right, so would anybody like to make a motion for August meeting minutes? Are there any
Want me to
changes?
show these? Let me just put them up. No. I can't show these because they are not coming up.
But those were mailed out to everybody, so.
Wendy makes a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second.
Jordan seconds, all in favor.
We just do a roll call again for that.
Okay.
Wendy, aye.
Wendy, yes. Jordan,
Yes. Jordan, yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Alvina.
I can't vote.
All right, then Cindy, yes.
Okay. All right.
Great.
got that then.
So tasks. Prepare summary for posting to the town webpage. I don't remember what the posting was. Is this for the letter report?
That's for the lead, yes, and that's posted on the website, on our
Okay.
page.
So that's completed. All right. Start drafting the annual written report. Not yet, to be continued for next meeting, sorry. And I'll hand it to Jordan.
I did go through the current website. I made some recommendations for updates and improvements. And then the one thing that had not yet been completed as of, I guess, the writing of this agenda was coming up with a summary for the source water protection page. And I do have a draft of that written up. It goes over the 11 objectives that are outlined on the table. Pretty simple. It's just a way for people looking through the website to get an idea of what's included without having to click on the links.
Nice, thank you for doing that. So yeah, whenever you're finished, then maybe forward that and we can share it with others for any comments, and then we can get that posted.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's good.
So Jordan, who did you make those recommendations to? This is Wendy.
To Cindy and Alvina.
No, what she did was she went through the website and noted a few updates, which were, you know, relatively simple and straightforward. So she forwarded those to me, and I forwarded them to Alvina. We can share them so you know what was done if you'd like. But they were essentially, you know, update this title, or you know, they were very simple. There weren't, you know, content
Okay.
changes.
All right, yeah, I was just wondering if it was a total redo, then we probably should all look at it. But if it's just stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like a broken link, but we can send them out.
And I did fix all that except for the picture, because we're going to change that at the end of the year and then update the membership.
Yeah, one of the comments was, can we put a new picture up? So we'll do a new picture via Zoom. And I guess we'll post that at the end of the year.
Yeah, we usually do that. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do this year, but when they take the picture for the town's annual report, that's what usually gets used. But
Yeah, and they're trying to see if we we offered to do all Zoom pictures, have just a print screen of a Zoom meeting with everybody there and just use that, and we'll see if that flies. And if that does, we'll just do that for this year.
I
Just
like that.
commemorate it.
Yeah, I like that. So they'll let us know for that. And then, but if we're going to talk about the website a little bit, I think it would be nice to continue to do a little more, a deeper changes to the website to see if there's anything more that can be done, and then we could discuss them. So, this first pass was just, okay, these are relatively minor things, but if there's anything more of substance that you see, Jordan, please feel free. And anybody else that could take a look at the website to try to, make it simpler to navigate for the public would be great.
And I had made, I think, some recommendations to the water conservation, so Alvina had made those changes as well.
Yeah,
But as far as the navigation, yeah, go ahead.
I said we've updated the links, just like you said, so that they go to the DES news release or press release, the latest one.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you, Wendy.
But as far as like navigation and whatnot, it seems like we're stuck in that format because that's just how the town website works. I don't know how much flexibility there is.
Yeah.
It has to be done on a case-by-case basis, so if there's any suggestions, I can go ahead and look if the website allows for something. And if it does, we'll do it. If it doesn't, we'll work around it. I mean, it can't do everything, but it's pretty versatile.
Okay.
Does the municipal system have a website?
Our page is part of the town website.
Yeah, but I mean the municipal water system.
Oh, not a separate website, no. I think we have a link to,
Whitewater's.
to Whitewater going off the DPW page. But that's for people who want to connect, more of that type, because that's how we do connections. The Whitewater does paperwork and then money goes through us, so it's a complicated process. But it's more about connecting to water than anything else.
Okay, because it might be a good thing to have a page, but yeah, not just the municipal system, because the municipal system could have some basic information. This is what the municipal system comprises of, and then the 3 school systems, the old town hall, the community center, public, we could have a list of the 10, I think it's 10 systems that the town operates, and so that might be a good page to create.
If anybody wants to come up with a schematic, and we can start from there. I don't know how much information we want to put out that shouldn't be public, like all the saved stuff for all the systems, all the reports and everything. I don't know if it's public or not.
Not all the reports, but you could put a link to the the DES One Stop that provides information on samples or something, so that somebody looking at a particular system would have some basic information. But that's for future, just an idea on more stuff that we could put up. All right, Selvina, your tasks, I think you can.
I posted, yep, whatever had to be posted is posted. Whatever had to be fixed is fixed.
Thank you very much. So the best topic is Chris's today. Thank you for joining us.
Not a problem. I don't know if it's the best topic, but we'll go with that.
We're running out of things to discuss. So
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to get it ready and I hadn't had it. I'm going to put all these kind of results into a spreadsheet so that you guys will at least have moving forward. As we talked about before, we're going to do, or started the sodium and chloride monitoring, and then what we talked about was getting lab results on a quarterly basis, and then do weekly conductance and TDS on our weekly ops, which we've been doing since that time. So back in June, on the 2 wells, well number 1, we had a chloride level of 370, sodium level of 94. Well number 2, 380 on the chloride, sodium level of 86. Conductance of 1100, and total dissolved solids of 720. We just sampled last week for the next quarter for lab analysis, but going back to that same time frame on a weekly basis, we've really seen from our weekly operations, the conductance 1100 to 1200 every week, and this is, and then the total dissolved solids from 645 to 550. Really not much of a change, kind of staying consistent, going back to those those June samples from the lab. So we're hopefully have those results. We'll continue. I'll put these into a spreadsheet. We're sampling from the same point on these on a weekly basis. Basically the finished water, rotating the wells as we typically do. So there really hasn't been, from week to week, any type of significant change from either one of those, the conductance or the TDS that we're measuring from that time frame.
Those are field measurements, the weekly ones.
That is correct, field measurements, and we do them off the DR900. Pretty reliable equipment for field equipment.
Yeah, that's good.
Which kind of on that baseline starting out to where we were with the lab results of 1100, as well as, the 720 really kind of falls in line or pretty close with our field analytical equipment. So,
Yeah, good calibration. And
Yeah.
then we're doing monthly lab sodium and chloride, right?
yes, that is correct.
Okay, so eventually what we'll have, I hope, is to be able to correlate the chloride, at least the chloride, with the conductivity, so that we only measure conductivity and we can estimate.
Where your chloride and sodium,
Where our
or at least
chloride
from a baseline where your chloride and sodium levels are going.
Yeah,
If I said that correctly, Cindy.
yeah, so that's kind of the hope. So if we do, maybe the full year, so that we have the seasonal variation, and then after that, we'll have kind of we'll be able to just monitor.
Right. And the
quarterly something.
interesting part, of course, Don Proventia he did it back in April on the monitoring wells, different than the wells. And that one that was elevated, the other 2 were lower, or actually lower than the well 1 and 2. Sodium at 49. This was observation well 8, sodium of 49, chloride of 102. That was before that time frame. Just find it interesting. Then a chloride of 52 at number 9, and sodium at 31. There was one OW6 which is elevated, but which is more indicative to the raw water wells. Chloride of 320 and sodium at 224.
Yeah, so it does, that OW6 is the one that's the one that's showing us where it's coming from.
Right.
And when Noel was on the committee, we were trying to figure out, can we find any sources coming from that side of the wells, from the OW6 side?
And that's kind of representative based on this of really what the wells 1 and 2 are showing as well. So I would say that one has the most from that monitoring wells, or those 3, pretty indicative of the source sample that we're seeing at the wells.
Yeah, so what's around that OW6 that could be contributing?
When you look at it initially, the terrain and the land, you wouldn't think, but is there underground runoff coming off of 3A down River Road that, subsurface at some point? I think we need to do further investigation to see.
Where is that OW6? Is that on the closer to the road, or?
Probably about halfway in between the wells and the road.
Okay. And
If
the
that
other
makes
ones, the other two monitoring wells are down gradient towards
Down gradient, yeah,
the highway.
correct. And
Well,
I'm gonna make a note anyways. I'll see if I can I'll put a sketch together too to make it easier for the next meeting.
Because at least that tells us, you know, historically, we've always said, oh, it's the highway.
Yeah.
But if this is showing the opposite, essentially.
And we missed that spring runoff, which was partly on my fault, but that's, you know, if we can get this for a year, at least get a good idea, see where the,
Yeah, we'll get it next spring.
yeah, next spring. Assuming we get water, let's pray.
Definitely.
Yep. So yeah, like I said, I'll get this into a format so you guys have it on a, you know, kind of do is send it out on a monthly basis when I get into an Excel spreadsheet, pull it all together and continue what we're doing.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Other than that, everything's kind of normal. Just we are going to, whether the board needs to know, I can keep you informed on PFAS for the wells. I know that when the regulations came out last year, we took one round, but then suspended based upon the regulatory side. So we'll start that again this last quarter. The intent is to get that PFAS sample taken in October.
And were those non-detect, Chris, the initial?
No, I don't. I can also, they were small detects, 1.2, 2.3,
Okay, so there is some traces.
some traces. And I'm not surprised, and the reason why I can say this out loud is I'm also on, have been for, I'm not gonna tell how many years, but anyways, Town of Pembroke Waterworks Board. We're seeing detects in our wells there as well, which
Yeah.
we know that Bo with Emery and Garrett and the time that we spent in the stratified aquifer for management over there, we know it flows in the direction of Bo's wells. So I'm not honestly surprised to see some level of detect.
Yeah, and those are pretty low. So
Yeah.
the next step, once you get that, well, we're gonna have to do 4 quarters
Correct.
for any detects.
Yep.
So there is one waiver that needs to be submitted, and the committee's happy to help with that if you want. But it's, DES will put out a form to request a waiver for the consecutive samples.
That's
Because-
based upon the 4 samples coming in below the MCL.
Yeah, because the rule required consecutive samples. Since we all stopped, we have to document a waiver for non-consecutive samples, which is fine. It's just we need to document that, and it'll just be a one-page thing that
Yep.
if you'd like, you know, the committee is happy to do that, or I guess Dave Stack would sign it.
It doesn't matter to me, and I'm just asking, is it something, because assuming we go through 4 quarters with below the MCL, does the waiver go to 3 years after that, Cindy, or am I incorrect?
Oh, that's a different thing. So there's another type of waiver that puts you on 3-year or 6-year,
Okay.
whatever. But this waiver is just to do non-consecutive quarters for PFAS
Non-consecutive.
specifically.
I guess,
Once that average is determined, the state will say you're going to be on annual monitoring or on triennial or whatever, depending on the levels. That's in the rules also. But that will happen automatically.
right.
You won't have to request that. That will be just, okay, we have 4 quarters. Based on whatever those levels are, you will now go to triennial or annual or whatever it is.
Is based upon the results, we can probably talk about it later. Do you see any advantage to trace it anyways?
To trace it,
In other words, still do it quarterly, even if it's extended out based upon the 4 months, the 4 consecutive samples taken below the MCL? In other words, just to keep a trend going on the area, or don't you think it's?
No, just the 4 quarters is enough. So you already have
Okay.
one. You'll do
Yep.
3 more. And then whatever is required depending on the levels. Yeah, no. In fact, those that have done more sampling already, it doesn't seem there's much variability between the seasons.
Actually, we're seeing just the opposite.
Okay.
Well, and I'll be in Pembroke, we're seeing in the summer to late fall, and we've been doing it for 3 years. And not as a comparison, just as I look at PFAS as a learning experience.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
everybody.
No, that's very good. Interesting because this is,
We're actually, as you know, the water table goes down, and I'm not, who knows the science or anything, we're seeing an increase in PFAS.
okay,
Going into a fall, start seeing a declination of it
okay,
over the last 3 years. So
interesting.
yeah, and that's just something, again, been trending it and just comparing numbers. We've even in the wintertime see it go back to non-detect, and then come back in the spring. It's just really, really strange and odd. That's why is.
Yeah, no, that's great information because the feeling from the aggregate data that we had, that the state has so far, the general consensus was that it didn't appear to be seasonal, but I'm very interested in seeing that, you know, that's not the case for every system.
No,
So,
exactly. Of course, right.
yeah. And especially with the drought, you know, we're seeing a lot of different impacts. So
Yep.
that's good to know. All right, and so that's for PFAS, just 3 more samples. How about the
Well, this is one, I have a question on
Go
that.
ahead, Jen.
So how much are the samples for the
Uh,
PFAS?
they're finally coming down a little bit. Round numbers about $250 a sample. So in this case, would be sampling well 1 and well 2. So basically $500 in sampling plus labor. Which,
And Cindy, why shouldn't we just at least do 4 consecutive again?
We could if we want to do extra. I'm just, you know,
Well, I thought that was what the requirement is, and but
we
it's
already have
not.
one.
You said,
Yeah, so we already have 1 quarter, so we just need 3 more.
but I thought that one technically doesn't count because we took a break.
It does count as long as we file a waiver form for
Well,
non.
that's what I mean. So why do the waiver form? Why not just go at least and do the 4 consecutive?
so you have a total of 5 without the waiver?
We could do that. That would be fine. It's just that there's an opportunity.
I don't know.
to take one quarter.
No, I mean, I guess you're concerned with saving the money, but I guess what I'm hearing from what's happening in Pembroke, I don't know, I think it would be useful to get those 4 consecutive.
Yeah, and maybe
I
that's
don't know what other people feel.
a recommendation from the committee to have 4 consecutive. It's, you know, certainly having consecutive quarters is helpful because it does give you the full seasonal look. So I would.
I mean, if we
I-
weren't getting any detects, I might say I wouldn't feel that way, but since we did, I think it,
You know,
I
after
would
4
like to see
consecutive,
4
it's also, we have the luxury of being able to compare to Pembroke as well, or at least, you know,
Yeah.
see if there's any relationship at all. And I could be way off, but it's at least worth looking at.
And if that's Whitewater's recommendation to the town, I think we would support that to do the extra quarter, absolutely.
All right.
So that's up to you guys. So the other town systems that will have to do PFAS, and I don't know if Whitewater is collecting those as well, but it will be for the town building on Grandview, because that's a non-community.
Yep.
And for the 3 schools.
We won't do the schools, or we do the town building.
Okay. And
Safety complex?
safety is transient,
That's right too. That doesn't fall into this
so
yet.
it won't be required. Actually, and the state is doing sampling at transient systems on using the PFAS funding separately. So there's folks out there doing sampling of transients just for occurrence data.
Yep.
So that can happen. We don't have to sample the transients. But the other thing I wanted to mention is there will be an opportunity to use for municipalities and the schools. So maybe this will be a follow-up outreach to the schools, that municipal and nonprofit non-transient systems can access the state PFAS contract for laboratory services. So municipalities will be able, and schools, public schools will be able to get a break on the sample costs. And it's about 175 a sample. So a little bit lower on because it's a bulk contract. So there's going to be information on that. Just
Is
so
it
you know.
multiple labs, Cindy, or just one lab that's doing it?
It's multiple labs, I think, that the state has entered into contracts with to offer that up to municipalities.
Okay.
So I know that will be coming out soon, and we should take advantage of that. And as a committee, maybe we can send a communication to the schools to let them know, and maybe to the town just to officially encourage that savings, to use that contract. All right. The only other thing was, I guess, the water levels. Chris, did you have?
Yeah, and I didn't really look at the details. So Don Preventer just sent over the water levels from what he does for his monitoring wells. And obviously we're in drought conditions, stage 2. I believe we're still at a stage 2 in our area, but they're down to where they were in 2016. Basically trends the same. That's the last dry period that we had. Obviously we haven't, not at a critical level, just groundwater table is down. Those were submitted today to Andrew. I just saw him real quickly cough. Haven't gotten into him details. I can definitely share those with you guys as well and get that over to you. But no issues as far as that we're experiencing, pumping wise. Of course, we don't have a huge demand there. We actually did have a large demand over the summer with bulk water hauling, which was, it was great. But that is now tailed off. So now we're on.
So that's of interest. So we were able to sell, to move some bulk water deliveries?
Yeah, so round numbers, July and August, we sold, Allen Hamill and Becker, one of the other ones went about mid-July to August is the way it went. Mid-July to mid-August, we 2.2 million gallons. Mid-August into September, right around almost 2 million gallons. So, which allowed the wells to run every other day rather than 5. We're able to have good turnover in the water system in the tank, maintaining a good chlorine residual and getting rid of some of that aged water that sits in that distribution system that goes through the, as experiencing those lower demand times going into the fall and winter time. So that's in my opinion, water quality wise and maintenance of the system is a big plus.
Very positive, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to see it year round. Just tying that to, iron and manganese, would being able to turn over the water and maintain it that way. We've had 0 coloration calls for water, which is a good thing. We really haven't gone any further, probably by my recommendation, at least with the polyphosphate blend with sequestering, not knowing where the new rule is going to be in a couple of years with iron and manganese. So my suggestion, at least at this point, was where we can turn over water, keep fresh water in the distribution system. We're not getting any coloration. Why mask the problem right now unless you think differently?
No, that's good. That's good to wait. And yeah, I think turnover is key. Water age needs to be managed, and that helps the water quality a lot. So that's great.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have to go in and do some flushing and turning over of water. I know in the past, no one's fault or anything else, just system isn't built out yet to be able to turn over water into the winter as well. Not as much as the summer, but at least instead of being 65 days on water that we're, I'd love to be at 14 days, but not
Yeah.
to waste it, but yet we still need to turn it over, so.
Right, right.
Yep.
And any questions for Chris on the bulk water and the water quality? Any?
Well, this is one, I guess not specifically for Chris, but are we gonna talk a little bit more in the meeting about water levels and the drought and
Yeah,
any recommendations
yeah,
that we'd
definitely.
like to make?
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. We can do that as either old business or new business. So before we head into drought, any other comments on? I mean, 2 million gallons is beautiful for bulk water sales from 0 before. And this is something that the committee has been, kind of pushing for a while. So I think that's great news.
Just to add to that too, obviously, you're taking a lot of water out of hydrants. Talking to Alan, they didn't have any colored water calls except for one truckload, but I 100% believe it was in the truck and not from the distribution system. So just,
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, for the record, it was from the truck. No problem.
Well, no one else complained and nobody else had an issue. It was a brand new pool. So anyways,
That's great.
that's what I attribute it to, because they hauled multiple other loads out that day. Hard to believe it was just,
Just one.
yeah, exactly.
So most of the deliveries are for pools or have they been for public water systems or?
A combination of both. I believe that was it Abenaki was part of it, and I don't know that specifically, but I know pools were one, and then 4 public water systems as well.
Okay. How are yeah, and I guess this is into drought. So Jordan, Blake, anything on that you will?
Nope,
Questions,
nothing for me.
comments?
I'm just curious what we're charging for that, the bulk water.
Oh boy, that's handled directly through Lois Richard with DPW. She takes all that. I can probably look it up real quick.
Yeah, I was just curious and whether it
Yeah,
varied depending whether it's for a pool or.
no, it's
water
basically
system.
based upon a flat rate per, I believe they do it per 1,000 gallons. Let me see if
Yeah, the biggest cost on the delivery is the transport because the water itself is pretty cheap.
yeah.
But
Well, we're not doing the transporting, are we?
Nope.
no,
No.
because we don't have trucks, so it's the bulk
But
water.
who
delivery.
sets don't we set the price for the water?
We set the price for the water, yeah. Um,
And you say it's cheap.
but it's
cheaper.
maybe 5 cents per 1,000 or
It's actually $5.65 per 1,000.
$5, okay, per 1,000. So
Yeah.
5 cents per gallon. No, 0.5 per gallon,
A nickel.
half a penny per gallon.
No, he said a nickel.
I was just doing,
Yeah, but per 1,000, so $5 per 1,000, and then 1, 2, 3.
so just to give you a rough idea, so
So it's
June
like half a
1st,
penny per gallon. Go ahead.
yeah, so June 1st, and this was Allen Hamel, 1.2 million gallons, $6,427. July 9th, 2.1 million gallons. That would be for the month. $11,564. August 5th, 1.1, $6,200, and then it tailed off into September, $778,000. 788,000. So get some good revenue in from it.
Does that just like go into the town's general fund or something?
I believe, I'm not sure if it's a general fund or if that goes into the water fund or for operating. I'm not. Better
Right.
question for DPW and David.
It goes to pay Whitewater.
Yeah, I think probably If they were smart, I think they would do that. No. I believe it goes to the water operating fund, but
Well, that would be good if it did. Yeah.
All right, so last thing on water quality, and I don't want to keep us too long, and we want to spend time on drought, but last thing on water quality for manganese, just for general information, is that there will be a standard of 0.3, and it's a ambient groundwater quality standard. They're in the process of, the state is in the process of adopting that. And once that is in place, which we expect maybe by the end of the year or early next year, then any ambient groundwater quality can be enforced as a standard for drinking water. So come January or so, I think there'll be communication to drinking water systems to say, okay, now there's 0.3 manganese ambient groundwater quality. So if you're above that, you need to do something about it, such as possibly public notice to customers. And I don't know if treatment will be required, but at least public notice above the 0.3. And I don't think that municipal wells are above 0.3. I think it's more like 0.1 or so,
correct.
0.1 or 0.2 maybe at the highest. So I
Sid,
think, yeah, go ahead.
Is that public notice? I think Rick was saying at one point in time every 30 days. Is that still going to happen?
I would expect over 0.3, it would be once a quarter.
Once a quarter?
Yeah.
And sequester
Because-
is not a form of treatment. So you'd still have to do the public notice with sequestering.
Yeah, and sequestering would not be acceptable, right? Would not, because that's not removing the manganese, so it's still in the water.
Does blended sources count or no?
Blending counts, yep.
Okay,
and
so if you have multiple wells where you could blend for your end result, finished water.
that's what you need to do. For
Yep.
any contaminant, you can blend. And it says the compliance is at entry point. So
Yep.
to keep it below 0.3, no action is required. But, manganese is a nuisance. So, just because of complaints, if we have that, and, with the extended water age, that seems to be, that's a problem from time to time. But as we get more water use, hopefully, just like with the bulk water deliveries, that benefits the system.
Dramatically.
Yeah. All right, so last topic, because the new business one of annual report, I don't really have a draft yet to share. We'll do that for the next meeting. But the biggest topic of the summer and going into the fall is the drought, because really the whole state is in a drought condition, and some areas in extreme drought conditions. So what the committee had done before with Wendy had drafted a letter with the regulations and the authority that the town has and the public water system has to issue water conservation recommendations. And we gave that to the town manager and to our emergency director. And they were very grateful for that. But the next question is, should we issue something to residents to advise? We have it on the town webpage, but I think one of the recommendation or one of the ideas is, and I'll leave the floor for Wendy next, is what should we do next? Or should we do something more?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I don't think doing anything more is strictly necessary just because of the timing. If we were in summer discussing the same topic, there's a lot more concern about people watering their lawns and agriculture and all of that. But with in the middle of fall, with winter coming quickly, I think water use is going to be, I think, generally reduced from peak times. So I don't think that a specific guidance to residents would be strictly necessary, because a lot of the big water the big water uses just aren't really happening right now.
Wendy.
Well, I just, and I think Blake's probably right about that. And I don't know if there's anything else that can be done or that should be done. I think DES is doing a good job as far as with their press releases and whatnot. But I was kind of awakened at the New Hampshire DES's recent staff meeting, and the Water Division Director, Tom O'Donovan, his description of how serious the drought is kind of took me aback. And I know in the fall, a lot of people are kind of trying to get, even because it was so dry, I think a lot of lawns got stressed, and I see that people are trying to reestablish lawns now, and there is a lot of watering going on, and we get these little showers, or that maybe we had we had one good day of rain, and then people, when they look outside, they don't really realize, they don't think about it. And it was concerning when you see, like, we know now that our system is low, the water level is low, when you see some of where these surface waters are and how low they are, and the rivers, and when he was talking about the Connecticut River, is they're having trouble now. There's not much DS can do as far as regulating that. And once the ground freezes, then that's it. I mean, then we're kind of stuck with what we have, right, until next spring. I mean, there's going to be no additional inputs, or I'm not a hydrogeologist, whatever, but that's, so I don't know if there is something additional that towns are doing. And I know, Cindy, you had suggested maybe we talk to Lee Kimball about it, but what would the town do at this point, or could they do?
Yeah, and one thing we learned is that voluntary measures are pretty much useless. People do
Right,
not.
that's another thing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, why waste a lot of time on that if that's if that's what it's showing?
But on the other hand, in order to enforce, to make it non-voluntary, you probably need to have a way to enforce things, and I don't think the town has the ability or interest in enforcing any kind of requirements for conservation.
Right, and when towns do, is it pretty much always just limiting outdoor water usage, the towns that have the restrictions?
Yeah, I think so. There's a term, unessential water, I guess. So, washing your car or something,
Oh, okay.
things like that.
So like Blake said, we're probably talking maybe 3 more weeks of that. I don't know, there's a whole lot once you get into November. There probably isn't much going on.
Yeah, I think we won't recover from this drought before the winter for sure. And people need to understand that even though we're using less water, we're not watering lawns. People do need to realize that our wells are impacted, and they're not going to recover possibly until the spring. And we don't know that we're going to get a good winter and a good spring for that matter. So this might be an extended impact, and people just need to be aware of that, I guess. So I think continued education is good. And one of the steps that Wendy and I had talked, at least we could talk to our emergency director. He's very in tune with the drought considerations. So maybe we could follow up with Lee Kimball and at least discuss with him what if anything, what kind of education we could do to the public on, because, you know, the common feeling is sort of what Blake was saying. Oh, you know, we're done. It's fine. But I think it's more serious than that. And that would be what the education, public education could be. You know, we could put together a fact sheet or, you know, some blurbs for the e-news to kind of continue to educate folks on that. Even if we just put the drought map into the bulletin, you know, that might be. And Tom O'Donovan, who was an ex-drinking water committee member, is heading the drought management team for DES now. And he just put 2 pictures up, you know, a dry lawn and a green lawn. And he said, you know, education is everything, because these people guide it and these others do not, you know. So even just putting some pictures up to try to educate.
We're starting to
folks
actually
might
see
be a
private
good thing.
wells now dry up in the last 2 weeks. Nothing, well, I haven't heard anything in Bow, but I mean, one of the other systems we do is Hudson, New Hampshire. And we've had, I think, 6 private wells dry up to the point of connecting to public water.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and you know, we typically, and it's just, we're still seeing in Hudson irrigation demands right now 20-25% greater than normal demands in the fall. So yeah, it's still,
Right.
yeah. But you're right, if we don't get any good rain going into the next month or so, I think we're going to be stuck until spring based upon what we get for precipitation over the winter. It's gonna.
Yeah. And I think the deficit is like 8 or more inches, you know, so it's even just a few rainfalls is not going to do it.
And I just said the wells are down. Now, when I talk, just looking at the data, I mean, we're talking 2 feet from springtime till now. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 feet in groundwater, I mean, it's pretty, especially when you look at the recharges spring on the ground. Well, I'm looking at the graphs. I mean, usually rain event, it recharges back up, but it's been a straight, basically a linear graph degradation of about 2 feet since, about May.
Wow.
Here with no recharge. Actually, how do I share it? I'm going to share it real quick.
Sure.
If I do it right. Everyone's different. Whoops.
Hang on, Chris. Let me make you co-host, and then you can share your screen.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, and I mean, these are in big production wells, or I don't know if you have the monitoring wells, but
This
imagine
is the monitoring wells I have.
on a residential well, you know, a decline like that could mean running out of water.
Work? No?
Yep.
Okay, you can see the graph?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So these are the 3 different wells. Basically your feet, basically top of case in the water levels on this left side. You can see all 3 of these wells. This is May here. You can see kind of, you know, first of the year. Then we had a rain event, but you can see a steady decrease in the monitoring wells down to where we are. This is, you know, 67, 69. So 2 feet, but it's consistent in all 3 wells. Basically represent, you know, if you will, no recharge occurring.
Yeah, that's the situation. So I have a copy of this graph, so if Wendy and I get a chance to talk to Lee, we can show him that and see what kind of, maybe come up with a draft for the committee to look at, and maybe put something together for the next news bulletin or something, just for the public to be aware. All right.
And Cindy, you did put something, what was that for? Was that the
Yeah,
monthly
if it was for
bulletin?
the October, what was that for October, Alvina, the news bulletin?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next
Oh,
one
yes,
is
and
in November.
Yeah,
Um,
but you did do a nice job with that write-up, and, right in the beginning, you talked about
conserve-
important to conserve water, so.
Yeah, we didn't have any graphs for
Oh.
that, but we could put something
No,
in.
but I think the visuals are always really
A help.
telling.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know how often the Parks and Rec sends out an email, but maybe we could get into Parks and Rec, or I don't know, the school might be sending out weekly emails. That's another avenue to send something to the school parents at least. All right. Is there anything else? Water topics? that we should discuss. Our next meeting is November 2nd. And I will have a draft of the annual report to start with so that we can critique that before, because that's due in January, so we have plenty of time. And the other thing is, so what Jordan was putting together for a draft is we have the source water plans on the website, and you just wanted to do like a little summary so that people can read the summary and then decide, do I want to click on this huge report or not?
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah, so that would be great. We can do that. Okay. Everything else good? Happy Monday? Happy fall?
Exactly.
Finally cooling down. All right, so motion to adjourn, anybody, or?
I'll make the motion. Motion to adjourn. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
All right. All in
right,
favor?
all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you very
Aye.
much, everyone. Thanks, Alvina.
All right, I'll see you all in
Thanks.
a month. And Wendy, you in a half an hour.
Okay, exactly. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye, everyone.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
take care.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.